Hey friends, comic friends, YouTubers, everyone out there, welcome back to Comic Book Corner, and I am your host, Spider Slayer. What's up, guys? We're getting ready to do another Walking Dead rewind. Sorry it's been about a month since I've done one of these. I've just had a lot of things going on. So I am happy to get this one out to you. This one will be issue number 12 of The Walking Dead, and the final chapter in the trade paperback, Miles Behind Us, Volume 2. Next week I will be moving to the new house. It will probably take the full week to move. Where I'm going to be shooting my videos, I'm not sure yet, but we will find out in time. And hopefully everything will start getting back to a little bit more of a regular basis and not so inconsistent. That's once I get settled into the new house. But for right now, let's do The Walking Dead issue 12 rewind. Alright guys, we're taking it back to issue 12. In issue number 11, Hershel lost all his kids in the whole barn incident. He unlocked the barn. Zombies came pouring out. They started eating his children, and he lost his children. This was the kids that he lost was Lacey, Arnold, and Sean. They're the ones that got killed in the zombie attack. Again, going back to comparing the show to this part of the novel, it was completely different. If you guys missed my last rewind episode, you can go check that one out. Here we're going to get started. Obviously this book was done by Robert Kirkman, Charlie Adlard, and Rathburn. They're the ones that have been doing this book consistently pretty much since issue number 6. Alright, so now we're going to go do the walkthrough, and what we see here is this part of this comic is different than the show on how the group actually found the prison and how they've gotten separated and things like that. In the last episode of the Walking Dead TV series, it's been a while now, basically what happens is the zombies attack the barn, and what happens is the group scatters and they wind up meeting on the highway, and then what happens is they go on their own way after they met up with each other, and eventually what happens is Rick confesses to everything that was going on, what happened to Shane and everything else, and at the end of the episode you see the prison, but they have not discovered it yet. Well, in this chapter, in this last chapter here in issue 12, they actually physically discovered the prison. So we'll get to that in a minute, but we're going to go through the walkthrough right now. And what happens is you see the group here mourning over the death of, or deaths of Hershel's children. And time goes on, it's the next morning now, and Tyrese's kid and boyfriend there are having a brief discussion about what they should do with the guns that they were given, and father sits there and says, well, you know, hold on to them, they're for an emergency, use them for whatever you want, or for, excuse me, don't use them for whatever you want, use them for emergency only, keep them in your holster. And there's this plan going on between the two kids saying, oh, this is going to make it a lot easier, what's going to happen. At this point, we don't know. I obviously know what happens. Rick and Lori wake up. They're happy about where they're sleeping. They're happy that they've been sleeping good in a bed instead of the cramped up RV. And Lori has a little bit of morning sickness, and she goes in the bathroom and she pukes. Blah, you know. So next thing we see is that Maggie and Glenn are shacking it up in her room. And she asked him to stay, but Pa comes in through Mr. Hershel, and he's like, Maggie, he's like, whoa, what the hell are you doing? He's like, and Glenn's all freaking out, and he's like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And he goes, no, you aren't. And he's going to chase him out. And he goes, and Hershel goes, he goes, and Maggie, I'm so disappointed in you. Your family hasn't even been in the ground for more than 24 hours. And he goes, and you're fucking this guy. It's just so funny the way they go. And she gets all angry, and you can see the anger on her face. And she's like, Dad. She's like, I wanted him to stay. I invited him to stay. And Hershel just sits there and, takes off. So what's going on now is Dale's busy cleaning up the RV, and he's reminiscing about his wife, and he really discusses on how much he actually loves Andrea. And at this point, you see that their relationship is real. It's kind of a weird relationship because you would look at them as more of a father-daughter figure, but they actually, I don't know, they have comfort in each other, and they wind up having a really good love and emotional relationship. So next we see Rick. He's cleaning up the barn after there's been a massacre, and he's cleaning it up with Alan, and he's actually asking Alan here. He's like, hey, how you doing, Alan? And he's like, really, Rick? I'm not good. He's like, I'm as good as it can possibly be. But he's like, I got to do it for the twins, and and I got to be there for them. So he's hanging in there, and Alan also asks how Rick is doing, and he's thinking about the pregnancy and everything else, and Rick basically gets fed up. He's like, we're cleaning up this barn to live here. He's like, he's got extra rooms in the house. There's no reason why we can't stay in the barn. He's like, I'm not going to stay in the barn for the rest of my life. So he comes up and he goes up to Hershel and he says, Hershel, I know it's a tough time, but I'm thinking about it. And Rick is discussing, and Hershel is like, no, you're not going to stay here. Rick asks him, can you stay? And Hershel's just plain out no. And you can see the look on Rick's face, and he's like, what? He's like, what the hell are you talking about? So he's just like, you're not taking my food, you're not taking my son's homes, you're not taking this, you're not taking that. And, he was just in shock. Now, all of a sudden, Lori gets involved in the conversation, fucking bitch-ass Lori, and she starts screaming like a little girl. She's like, you're not going to take this away from us. How can you send us out in the street and all this shit? And she's going out, and it's just so funny because Hershel's like, I never invited you to live here. He's like, I'm letting you stay here while your son heals. I don't have to give you my food. I don't have to give you this. I don't have to give you that. And he goes, oh, and Lori says, oh, but you're safe because you have a barn full of zombies. If it wasn't for our guns and our help, you would have been dead. And he goes, what does he say? He says something else. He goes, enough from you, damn woman. And he was going to hit her. And Hershel, Rick automatically jumps in. He's like, Hershel, that's enough. And she goes, you were going to hit me. She goes, what the fuck is wrong with you? That's what Lori says. And then Hershel just blows up all over the place. And he just goes, I lost 3 kids, yeah, you stupid bitch. 3. Today, I find one of you fucking my daughter. Then your husband's asked me to take my kids' rooms. And now you're on my ass because I won't let your freeloaders eat all my food. So he's like to the breaking point. He's like totally lost it. He says, I don't owe you shit. And then he walks away and he goes, I don't owe you shit. And he's all pissed off. And he goes, and Lori goes, what about our kids? We can help you grow food. We can do this. And Rich is just like, it's going to be okay. And then what happens is Hershel points the gun at Rick and he goes, I want you guys out of here. She goes, I want you guys out of here now. And it's just crazy. And, Otis is trying to break him up, and Otis pushes him and goes to check on him, and Hershel realizes he's lost it. He's like, if he showed any resist, I was going to shoot him. I was physically going to shoot him. So what's going on is they have to leave. They're all getting cramped up in the RV, and Glenn decides to stay behind. He's like, I love Maggie. I don't know if there's anybody else that's going to make me happy, especially in this time. And Glenn is disappointed. And what happens now is that they all get cramped up in the RV. We can see it again. Cramped up. And they're searching around. They're driving for, it looks like, I don't know, for a few days or so. And they have campfires, and there's not enough squirrel to go around for everybody to eat. And Sophia wants some, and Carol wants some, and Alan wants some, but there's no food left. They go and they search general stores. There's nothing there. There's just nothing. There's nothing they can eat. So they come to a different location, and basically what happens is they're splitting up, and if they ever find anything, what they're going to do is they're going to honk. So Andrea and Dale are searching, and they're climbing this big hill, and they're searching for food and supplies and things like that. And all of a sudden, we see the look on their faces. They're like, oh my God. They're like, we gotta tell Rick. So they honk, and Rick was like, oh man. He's like, what did we find? And here's what we have not found yet out in the TV show, is that we actually find the prison. And this is what you guys saw. For you guys that don't read the comics, this is what you saw at the end of the final episode, undiscovered at this point. But you know that they're going to be heading there. And that is the end of issue number 12 of The Walking Dead. And but the last thing that Rick does say in this issue is he just says it's perfect and it's home. We can make it safe. And that's it. So at this point, if you guys don't read the individual issues, which are hard to find right now, you can get this trade. It's volume 2. It has all these issues that I reviewed in issues 6 through 12, and this will tell you this story. And at this point, at the end of volume 2, you are caught up to the TV show. So volume 2 is caught up to the TV show at this point, and then after this, you guys have not, if you guys don't read the comic, you haven't seen anything that goes on from that point forward. But I will be continuing to doing the Walking Dead Rewind. I will be doing volume 3. Hopefully I'll get the videos up a little bit more consistently after this move, and we can try to get as many issues reviewed before the new season comes. At least I'll get volume 3 wrapped up, so we're equal with the show at the very least. But this particular issue, issue 12, was great because it ends a chapter and it's getting ready to begin another, and the anticipation is great on the things to come. And then eventually you're going to run into the governor, and you guys are going to love him. So guys, that is it for another Walking Dead Rewind. I hope you enjoyed it. And this is Spider Slayer saying thank you for watching, and as always, until the next comic book review, this is Spider Slayer signing off, and thank you for watching Comic Book Corner. Thanks guys. Bye.